In this section 3.2, we're going to talk about the hypothalamus and central integration. So to start, the anatomical and functional overview. The hypothalamus contains regions responsible for regulating temperature. So this is the main part of the brain. We don't need to get too detailed into the specific anatomy or location. The important thing is that this is the part of the brain that manages the negative feedback loop that we talked about in the previous section for maintaining homeostasis. Now, the POA in specific, it receives signals from central thermoreceptors, so located near deep tissues and large blood vessels. So this is really indications of core temperature, and then also peripheral thermoreceptors. So this is in the skin. So this is more indications of the environmental temperature and our interactions with the ambient environment. So this is a really nice diagram here, basically going over what are the different anatomies. So you'll see there are receptors in the skin. You look in the bottom left, it detects heat, that sends it to the brain, and eventually in the hypothalamus detects it. There's also receptors in the core. So this is well beyond the scope of this course and certainly well beyond my scope, but really just to say that the body has receptors in different locations, sends feedback to the brain to detect what is the temperature, what is our status, and how do we need to respond accordingly. So as it processes the thermal data, it activates appropriate responses. And this is autonomic, endocrine, behavioral pathways, all sorts of different things. And again, this is both for hyperthermia and hypothermia. And this is also similar to how the body works in different domains as well beyond temperature. So in a state of hyperthermia, increases in sweating. So this is to help cool the body down via sweating. Also increases in cutaneous vasodilation, sending more blood flow to the vasculature of the skin, specifically in certain areas. And then on the other side, vasoconstriction, prevent heat or blood from going to the different portals. This is why you'll see frostbite in your fingers and toes. The body will vasoconstrict, doesn't want blood to pass through the hands and the feet where there's a lot of heat transfer, as well as shivering to generate heat internally. Now, the hypothalamus integrates with the brainstem, so it coordinates all of these different aspects. That includes cardiovascular, behavioral responses, also with hormonal outputs, cortisol, stress. So there is definitely thermal stress that's increased. And then motor cortex. So this is where you actually see motor coordination and a lot of the voluntary output and function, mechanical level. This is something that you're going to see a lot of relevance for performance. When core temperature goes up, the brain is inhibiting motor control and voluntary activation of muscles. So this section, the practical application is that learning and understanding that the hypothalamus explains why symptoms of heat precede peripheral fatigue. This has helped to explain how the brain and the hypothalamus function largely like a thermostat. It's detecting the temperature in the body, just like a thermostat would detect the temperature in the room, and it's going to adjust what it's doing accordingly to try its best to stay in that optimal zone.